Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to FPL Don't Panic. This could be a long, rambly one. I'll try and make it reasonably short and succinct because the truth be told, this game week 32 double is posing me multiple dilemmas and different thoughts of what is the right thing to do. So currently what you see on the screen there is pretty much the sort of optimal line out in terms of how they've been performing in recent weeks. Really just showing pretty decent averages. 62 points to average, excluding captaincy, across the last 5 game weeks in which these players have played 5 games or more. But of course, there's problems in there in that I'm only on 2 Newcastle at the moment for the double game week, and I've also got 2 players in there in Mbumo and Bowen with pretty challenging away fixtures. On the bench, Konate is not a bad option to bring in should I decide to go with a 4-3-3 and maybe bench Bowen, I think, because I just think Arsenal, an incredible effort in midweek against Real Madrid, but I think there's going to be some rotation there. I think there is the potential there, as we've seen in the past from Arsenal, to concede a sloppy goal, penalty, something. So I think there's a genuine chance there from Bumo. But in saying that, the same with Bowen against Liverpool. I mean, do I just go with it? Do I just go with it and roll the transfer? Because 2 transfers could be very, very, very useful for the double 33 and also with the blank coming. I think my biggest problem in there, in truth, is probably Foden. I really would like to start Foden, but there is no guarantee of him playing. And quite frankly, if you look at the spreadsheet side, there is when his averages is awful. In his last 5 games where he's played 60 minutes or more, he's got an average of just 2.2. That's pretty piss poor, to be honest. Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. As I think about this game week, and I'm sort of listening to obviously a lot of the narratives around the various content providers, I'm just wary of getting trapped into this little FPL bubble that we all live in. We do. We're all engaged. We're listening to the pundits. We're listening to me. I'm listening to you, etc. And we get caught in this thing. So, I've been somewhat worried about the bench boosters this week. Because as I say, obviously I have no chips. I am the chipless Des. And how do I manage my way through this? Been doing okay so far. I've actually had some good rank rises in the last 3 or 4 weeks, as there's been AMs played and a few I think, various chips have been played, but not to a large extent. But they're obviously expecting them to come in hot and heavy in the next few weeks. But am I buying too much into that narrative? As I sort of look at teams now, particularly with so many uncertain starters, and people have obviously wildcarded, certainly loads of wildcarded across 30 and 31, planning for a bench boost, but the teams are actually a bit messed up, and I know that because I've obviously seen my own team some of the rotation risks, but I've also been the guy that's number 1 in the FPL Don't Panic Challenge League. I've been sort of helping him out because we catch up on a weekly basis, and I can see where his team has ended up now, and it's challenging to actually do a decent bench boost because we've got these uncertain starters. For him it's Saka and Savinho, but for others it's Foden, Palmer, etc. And obviously people have thought they were optimizing for these next 2 game weeks. It's all a little bit messed up, I think. I'd be challenged to even with a transfer or two to decide what you would do in terms of a bench boost. So I don't think that, although there will be bench boosters. Don't get me wrong, there will be. Is it as serious a problem just now as I thought it was? Do I just try and kick this can down the road and just focus on the game week in front of me, not worry about that, potentially roll, wait for the press conferences? Because I think City is the first kickoff. I think that's the first game of the week. So we quite often do, get a little bit of early information about City. So if Foden's playing, I'd absolutely put him in there instead of Bowen. I mean, I know he's not been in great form, but if he's starting, I made that error at 3 a.m. in the morning a few weeks back in an impulsive transfer when I heard Kluivert was injured. And it just feels transfers are so precious at the moment. if he is starting, and then we've obviously got him for the double as well, where you would expect he'll get at least one game in out of that double. Do I just roll with that and just kick this can down the road a little bit? Or we actually do something a bit different. As I say, you can see obviously on the spreadsheet there, the average is showing at 62 at the moment, and I do want to try and push that up towards the 70 mark in the coming weeks, because I think that has got to still be my overall objective, trying to hit the 70, and hoping that, children, don't panic, just try and make sensible moves. Yes, the chips are coming for you, but if you can stay steady, look towards that double in game week 36, maybe take a little bit of the focus off that game week 33 now. You've got some decent players in there. Make sure you've got a decent team going out in 34, but just generally for the rest of the season, maybe optimize a wee bit more, roll a few times, optimize a wee bit for that 36 so you can come in and out of it, whereas others may be flailing with transfers and maybe not planned for it quite as well. Got to get some upside there right at the end, get some transfers together and almost have like a mini wild card towards the end of the season. As I say, I have more questions than I have answers, quite frankly. We look at the show. I am tempted by a few things. Let's be honest here as well. I do have that nature in me that does like to take a punt, and I think I've done fairly well by my own standards. Because say those that you've been following for a while, I do like a little punt and take a hit and do these things. I've been reasonably good, and it has served me well for probably about the last 10 game weeks or so. That generally only once or twice I've broken it, but in general, sort of sticking to the no hits and just sticking to the spreadsheet, just staying nice and steady, doing the eye test, bringing the right players in at the right time. By and large, it's gone really, really well. I'm just literally just sitting a point or two outside that top 100k now. But there are some tempting punts, and I do look at a couple of the guys in our league, have been brave and taken some big punts on the likes of Evan Nielsen and things like that. Gone against the grain. So although I've been going nice and steady, a couple of those guys have come with some absolutely fabulous scores. Particularly the game week just gone as we saw. So sensible options would be, to take Gabriel out. He's just gathering dust there, third on the bench, gathering dust and losing value. To change him for Livramento and just play into this double game week. Have my 3 Palace, have my 3 Newcastle, and hope that the Ezes and Sars of this world don't do too well. And as I think, because Palace's defensive data has by and large actually been very, very good, and in fact probably better than Newcastle's. Probably if you took it over the last 10 game weeks or so. But of course they do have Guehi out for at least one of these matches, I think, at least one of the doubles. But a little Livramento or a Burn or a Shah, just because Shah's not as heavily owned. And I do like Shah. He did very well for me for a little while last year. Seemed to keep popping up with an assist or a goal. But one of those guys, take a punt on one of those, nice sensible option, hopefully pick up a clean sheet, you never know, an attacking return. And then, I've got a nice, sensible team going into this double and kick the Foden problem down the road a little bit and maybe see what happens this week. It's probably the sensible thing to do. And also, there's also, of course, then and then I hope to God that Foden does start if I did want to put him in place of Bowen. So that's one. And here's the thing: Bowen's and Mbumbu's numbers are good, and what I've actually noticed in both, and they both scored in difficult fixtures over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 game weeks. They have their those difficult fixtures, but they have both shown that they can get goals against better teams. And let's face it, Liverpool at the moment, that's a little bit off the boil. And Arsenal certainly just seem to, despite having the best defensive numbers, do have a tendency to concede some daft goals. And the two of them would be hell of a differential, particularly if the Ezes and the Sars, don't do so well, and if they don't do so well, so that in itself becomes a punt. That becomes a punt. Or if I knew he was fit, I'd love to go triple on the Newcastle attack. I really would. And sort of, we just go through a little bit there on my watch list. Players that could maybe bring up the averages for me if I brought them in for a Foden and move them in. So Gordon wouldn't bring up my averages if I brought him in. He's just on a 2.4 average anyways, if we're looking at the spreadsheet there, going from top to bottom. Um, but I would probably take that punt if we knew for sure Gordon was going to be starting. But he wasn't even in the squad. He should have been available, but he wasn't even in the squad last week. So I don't think he'll start. He certainly won't start the first one, and then he may play limited minutes in the second game in that double. So he's ruled out because my rules are generally, well, not rules, but I don't think I can hit all of my buttons. You know, I'm looking particularly for the rest of the season. Anyone I bring in, they've got to have solid minutes. They've got to have pretty decent averages, decent fixtures going forward, and hopefully can play into those doubles a bit. You know, so unfortunately, Gordon doesn't fit that bill on a number of levels. His averages are poor, and his minutes are definitely not solid. Saka, I'd love to bring in Saka. I really thought I would be bringing in Saka for this game week or certainly the next, and it would be very, very easy for me to move Foden to Saka. Originally, I'd planned to have Foden as well and Saka and move out either Mbomo or Bowen, but that's not going to happen now at this point. You know, it's got to be and particularly Mbomo and Bowen, as I say, they're both playing 34, so that helps me out there, and they've got some decent fixtures going forward. Against Ipswich and your Southampton, so they're pretty solid, and they have shown a great level of consistency. I'm not keen to sell either of them at the moment. And I think those are players that other people will be looking to bring in once we get through these couple of doubles. So Saka, yeah, it's awfully tempting still. He looked really good. He looked really good against Real Madrid. It's just sort of law as well, you know. I hung on to Gabriel for ages when I really thought about selling him because he wasn't getting any attacking returns in Arsenal. He was getting clean sheet pretty much every second game. So I would just tick along. I would like more, and now Saka will be back and he'll start whipping those corners into your onto his bonds. And as soon as Saka comes back, of course Gabriel gets injured. It's just FPL. Fox with your head. So I don't think I can bring those averages are obviously for his last 5 games that he's played 60 minutes or more. So 6.4 is a nice average, but those minutes are just not guaranteed. And yeah, it's really that would be a punt, and I really would like to bring him in, and I'd love to have him for that double, but just feels risky. But they do have to give him minutes. Arteta does have to give him minutes so he can get a game rhythm. We can't just be playing him every couple of weeks. So Saka is kind of under consideration, and he fits the bill in a lot of ways. I mean, looking at those fixtures going out, if he does come on against Ipswich, I mean, he could do a lot of damage in 30 minutes against Ipswich. And Palace at home is good. Let's get rid of that so I can see what I'm doing. Yeah, I mean, Saka's fixtures, yeah, Brentford, Ipswich, Palace, blank. That's okay. I'll have a couple of transfers. I can still fill in a few more of those blanks down there. Bournemouth, Liverpool away. That's okay. I've got a strong midfield and a strong, could rotate there if necessary. Although Liverpool may have the title, but then that could be a humdinger of a match actually. If Liverpool have slipped a few more times, it's unlikely though, isn't it? But then Newcastle home, Southampton away. Great end of the season fixture. If he's playing, could have a Champions League final in the sights. Then they might want to be again. Minutes don't feel secure, despite that looking like a nice run of fixtures and the right sort of average that I'm looking for to bring in to bump up my averages. But it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. It feels as though I could be swapping one problem for another. Rodgers, he fits the profile perfectly. That money, 6.2 average. Southampton up in the next match. Newcastle home, but the Newcastle defence we know can be got at, and it's a double. So City away, not so great, but again we know the City defence can be got at. Fulham, Bournemouth, Spurs, Man U, nothing frightening there. Lads in form. Is he a risk though for this Southampton match? Again, he fits the profile nicely for me in all, but is he going to get rotated? He's one of the few players that has not been rotated yet. But is it coming? And if they were going to rotate him, Southampton would be the fixture, wouldn't it? Southampton would be the fixture. But you think you'd get at least 2 out of the next 3. So is that necessarily bad? I mean, and I suspect I'm going through the same problems a lot of you guys are going through as well. So I'd be very, very interested in your thoughts. Palmer. I 100% think he's going to start. I mean, his averages are shocking. 2.6, really, for a player of his quality. But he is looking better. We know what he is capable of. And it's Ipswich at home. And we saw that he was substituted after 45 minutes um, in the that nonny new Europa thing that they're in. He'll definitely start this game. This game with Ipswich at home. No double, but then Fulham at home, Everton at home. A few tough, trickier ones down the road, but a Man United home fixture. As I say, I'll have enough in that midfield for some good rotations. I've got an amazing front three. Do I take a Palmer punt? Forget the double. Just don't buy into that. He's a player with a couple of really good fixtures, and he's got a game in 34 at home. Good fixture. It's tempting, but we've all been bitten so badly on the bum by Palmer. But his expected goals is up. It's back up. Hope for the rest, the injury, etc. Chelsea have been really good at home recently. They're actually they're not. I say not really good. They're winning. They're winning. They're not conceding goals. We've seen that with some of the hauls that the likes of Cucurella and those have got as well. Palmer's on the list of a potential. I think I am ruling out the Saka, the Gordon, Saka, Rogers. I think Palmer is on the list as a potential. If I was going to take a punt, I think he's one that I would consider because he will actually now be quite a big differential. He's even a captaincy option. Right, we move into interesting territory now. Asensio. Asensio looks as though he is going to start for Villa in the next 2 or 3, I reckon, given the way that they seem to be playing the European match. Southampton, then a Newcastle home, a City away, double. Hell of an average. The guy knows his way to goal, but his minutes are a risk. He's also on my list just because of the way that that Villa seem to be doing the rotation. But I do worry about the energy that Villa are having to put into the into Europe. I mean, yeah, and they're looking more likely to go out as well. But they've got the FA Cup as well. It's a punt. It's a punt. Not sure. Not sure. Feels as though it really is in the minutes risk territory though. Probably rule it out. I'd probably rule it out. Marino, midfielder playing up front, scoring goals. An Arsenal attack with Saka back in, providing some of the bullets. Decent enough fixtures. He's a player for that double. I think he'll play. I think he'll play most games. Definitely on the list, and not a bad average, and showing that he's capable of getting those double-digit hauls. And who else are they going to put up front? Trossard. Don't think he looked like a fish out of water the one game I saw him play up there. Marino's on the list. Boiling this down, I think his minutes will be good. I think his minutes will be good. Bryce, okay, don't laugh at me. Don't laugh at me. Rice at the end of last season went through a goal scoring spurt. He was outstanding. He was playing more like an 8 than a 6, which is why I made a note there. And I think against Real Madrid, I think he played more as an 8 than a 6. And he's just absolutely amazing. He looked world class. Those free kicks. That boy's confidence is up. And he will play all of Arsenal's games. He will play every single game. That is the punt of punts. No one in their right minds would be buying, a defensive midfielder for these games. But he got on a little run last year, a real purple patch scoring goals just towards the end of the season. And if he is going to be playing, maybe this is something new we're going to say. Or was it just for Real Madrid? But hell, if Arsenal, Saka's getting free kicks around that box. Rice is now going to have a crack at them. Those 2 free kicks. I don't even like Arsenal, but I will give credit where it's due. That was absolute world class, those 2 free kicks. They really were absolutely outstanding. He's on my list, He's on my list. I mean, he's got pretty much guaranteed three games, three decent fixtures. decent fixtures for the rest of the season, he could get on a little run, and it would be a hell of a differential. I'm mad to do that, wouldn't I? I'd be mad to do that. But I'm really tempted. I'm really tempted just for a mad punt. Right. Then we get to Mr. Reliable. Bruno Fernandes. Pretty much involved in a United goal. He got an assist this morning. Oh my God, by the way. Freaking Andrew. And dear God, we have a clown for a goalkeeper. Honestly, we'd be better with Tyrion fucking Lannister in goal for us. I swear to God. He's got to go. Newcastle are going to pump us. They're going to absolutely pump us. Really are. But we might get a goal or two. And if we do, Bruno will be involved. And Bruno is still averaging up there 8 points per match. He's in one of those little spurts at the moment. But he had one earlier in the season. And as I spoke about it when he says, about midway through the season, we got a goal and says, right, get on Bruno. He does this and then he gets on these runs where he's scoring, getting to an average of 10. It goes on for like 6, 7, 8 game weeks. I think he's in that run at the moment. And he will play every minute of every game. And he's on penalties. There's some okay fixtures in there, some difficult ones, but he is a guaranteed starter come what may. I kind of need those. And then we go into real punty territory. I really like Barnes, Newcastle Barnes. I do think Newcastle are going to pump United. I sadly do. Barnes is a decent player. I think he'll start the next one. He may even start the second one of the double. But then I think once Gordon is back, so I'll be listening to the pressers with great interest. But he would certainly be a 2-3 week punt that I think could work out as a short-term punt and just invest into that Newcastle attack and see where it goes. I got through most of that. Yeah, I know you're drinking out of your trophy. Apart from that, where would I go? I put a few defenders down there, but my defence is generally fine. The only thing I guess would be to choose to get Gabriel out, and bring in Livramento or Byrne or Schär. And it is kind of the sensible thing to do this game week. But I'd like to try and strike a balance between sensible, maybe something that just might crack me into in this game week where I don't think there's going to be as many. There's going to be a few assistant managers being played, obviously. Don't think those bench boosts are going to be as prolific, or if people do play them, as just get as many points maybe as people think. One of the things with the bench boost, obviously there are rotation risks and minutes risks. I think in most teams at the moment. So there's there's obviously that side, and there's not that many double players being used as the most, with only 4 teams doubling in 33 as an example. The most doubling players that you can have is 12. So you're not really playing. It's not as if you got, apart from maybe a goalkeeper or something, you have doublers, doubling. So at most it's like 3 players in a single game week and what they're going to produce on the bench. And I don't think there's going to be as many of those as initially we would have thought, because of all these rotations and minutes risks that are going on at the moment. I'm all for it. Yeah, play your bench boost, please. And as I say, because you might actually end up with only 1 or 2 players actually, getting full minutes. Other than that, yeah, there's some good choices there. Murillo, I'm tempted. Nottingham Forest, as I look towards 36, that's the other thing I'm sort of looking towards. Who could potentially have doubles in 36 as players that I bring in. So certainly, Forest is certainly an option there. I think there is the potential. City will certainly be probably one of the favourites to have a double in game week 36. So these are the other things that I'm thinking about. So this has been a very, very long-winded way of saying I don't know what I'm going to do at the moment. These are the sort of thoughts that are going through my head, and I'm sure they've gone through a lot of you guys as well. So I'm going to still do nothing. And we're probably only going to find out what I'm going to do, or what I've done, when I do the game week review. And that's simply because I think I need more information. Certainly, if there's a leak before deadline, and I find out Foden's playing well, yeah, Foden will go in for Bowen. Take that one to the bank. It's if I don't get that leak, what do I do? Do I just go with this and then play safe and just bring in a Livramento or something like that? It's got a fixture in 34, got this double, and then I just kick this problem down the road for now. And I hope we get a little bit lucky with Bowen and Mbumo, or indeed that Foden's playing, or we just take a punt on Barnes, because I do quite like the idea of that. I think that's been my favourite, and as sad as that is as a United fan, I just think United's going to get pumped. I really do. No, honestly, it's going to be on his mind. It's going to be on his mind. And we were coughing up chances. Listening to some of the. I watched the match. We were awful. We were awful today. We were coughing up chances. We were actually lucky to get 2-2. We had a few chances ourselves, but as I say, we seem to be creating a few chances. Fuck. We're lucky to get a 2-2 in my opinion. Some of the chances that Lyon missed, and Newcastle will be rested. They've really just got the Premier League to focus on now and getting that Champions League spot. Could get ugly. It could get ugly. So what else? Anything else? That's kind of it. I am going to leave it at that. Those are just, as I say, the thought process I'm going through. I don't want to do anything daft this week, but I feel could be, I won't call it a risk-free punt, but yeah, going for something like a Barnes or a Palmer. I think I will end up going there. I'm just not sure which one. Yeah, just don't know which one. Don't know which one. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll leave it at that. Little bit of a waffle. Hopefully it made sense, and as I say, hopefully maybe some of that information there in the spreadsheet is useful for you guys. You're trying to think yourself what way do you want to go. Things to bear in mind. Obviously we've got this week's double, and we've got the 33 double. Then we've got the blank in 34. If you're free hitting out of that, great. If you've got enough transfers to manage your way out of it, that would be better, because we are reasonably sure we'll have that double in 36 and another blank in 37. So it's just going to be a maelstrom of challenges to get through right up to the end of the season. So transfers are valuable, and that's why anything like what I'm thinking about here is really, really, really important, that whatever choice I do make, it's not going to be a now and then a problem in 2 or 3 weeks' time. I'll leave it at that. Take care, have fun, play your own game. All have awesome game weeks. If it's as good as the last one we all just had, we'll be sitting pretty at the end of it. See you soon. Bye-bye.